Skid pad only today. We'll be entering on that side. It'll be the traditional layout that we've done in the past, not the new one that we did last event, where we started over there. So we'll start over there. There's only 2 people here that have cages and they're qualified tandem that I've seen so far. So this rule goes for everyone. No passengers. You can't take anyone with you in your car unless you have a full cage. Keep your hands and arms and appendages inside the vehicle at all times. Don't do dumb shit. Don't get out of your car unless you're on fire. If you crash or go off track, stay where you are until the EMT or someone comes to respond to you. Do not just drive away because you could be leaking fluid. There could be something wrong to where you're going to drag oil and water or gas and catch yourself on fire all over the track. So if you hit the wall or if you end up deep in the ditch, you, yes you, stay there until we get you out. What am I forgetting? 5 miles an hour in the pits. When you come out, come down, make a U-turn, get back in line. Being as there's only 12 cars here so far, we're not going to do run groups. We're just going to do an open grid. We're only driving 3 hours. We're driving until 8 o'clock, which is when it gets dark anyways. We don't have lights on the skid pad, and I've put in a lot of work to do this thing where we can all hang out and watch FD on a giant 25-foot tall movie screen. Once we shut down drifting, we'll let you guys slowly, carefully drive your cars out onto the oval and park drive-in style, and we're all going to hang out and have a good time and watch Top 16. So, questions? Is there anyone here for the first time? So you guys are first time here, you don't have any questions?
They just want to drift.
Okay. Grid workers are Kip and Tyler. These are going to be the guys that will be over the line starting and sending your cars. Listen to what they have to say. Don't make them be bad guys, because then they'll come get me and I'll be a bad guy, and if you don't like that, I'll go get Chris, our security director, and he's an asshole. So, really it's just more common sense, man. Don't, like I say it again and again, don't do dumb shit, but that's really what it comes down to. Be respectful of yourselves, of the track, of each other people's cars, property, etc. And we should have a good time and shut down any problems. No burnouts in the pit, no standing burnouts. If you totally fuck up and go offline and knock a bunch of tires everywhere, just stop, get out, fix the tires. Don't make us run out and do it. That's totally okay. You know, I know that we've got some people that are newer. It's going to happen. Tires get punted. It's not that big of a deal. And it'll make us like you a lot more if you actually get out and clean up your own mess. So, other than that, give it a couple minutes, and we'll get our grid workers in place, and you guys can go ahead and start lining up over there on the skid pad. So, like I said, just open grid. So, there's not that many cars. I'm not going to split it up.
Thanks.
I know, dude. Once I take a minute and drink some water, what does that mean?
It might be kind of lean right now. It might start really cold.
Yeah.
I've seen your videos.
Nitro Chaos. Yeah. Hey, driftlife right here. Look at that. Huh?